Good evening, everybody. Hello. Hi. I've always wanted to perform, and initially I thought that I wanted to be a magician, only because I didn't know the word comedian. And once I learned that word, that's what I wanted to be. I said, yes, that's it. That's what I want to do. So, 18 years old, started doing comedy. It went reasonably well. I had some tremendous material. I would list all of the OPEC nations, those are the oil-producing nations. I would list all the OPEC nations, and I would list the numbers of barrels of oil per day that they each pumped, and then I would provide the audience with an equation to work out the weight of oil that was being pumped from the interior of the earth onto the surface of the earth. It took about 7 minutes, and it wasn't funny. It was terrible, but I thought it was really cutting-edge stuff. I thought that this is the comedy that the people of the world need to hear. I wasted years doing that. I would dress up as Jack Williams, one-eyed, 5,000-year-old cowboy and sing songs about the lizard people building the pyramids. Not funny. Wasted a lot of time. I would dress up as the Shredder from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I would read poetry. Poems like, I sit with Krang, my brainy friend, inside the Technodrome. You see a hollow metal house, but to me it is a home. And that was kind of funny. That one was pretty funny, but it took 5 years to get to that point. So 5 years in, I'm doing Master Shredder to reasonable success in punk rock basements and coffee shops and the ceiling, like the back rooms of bars and things like that. And I wanted tape, because you need tape, you need good footage, and you send it out to comedy clubs that eventually bring you on to work for the weekend to host and then fire you in the middle of a show. We need you out of the building before the headliner gets off stage, or I'm fired. Here's $30 for gas. You live 150 miles away, you borrowed your father's pickup truck to get here, this is not gonna be enough money. This is what was happening with me in comedy, and I finally said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I've wanted this my whole life, I don't want it anymore. I'm going to move to the country and become a gentleman farmer. In the style of Thomas Jefferson, but with some notable differences regarding the organization of labor. So I did. I moved to this place called Cornville, C-O-R-N-V-I-L-L-E. Evidently, it was supposed to be called Cohenville, but there was some sort of mix-up with the Postal Service. I don't really believe it, but that's what the people who live there told me when I moved there. Like, you know, it's supposed to be called Cohenville. It's like, great, that's fantastic. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to grow vegetables, which is what I did. I'm like 22 years old at this time, recently married. So I'm there with my first wife. We're living on a former chicken ranch with a lot of land, and I grew vegetables. I grew several types of beans. I grew some that looked like Holstein cows. I grew several types of tomatoes. I grew sunflowers. I grew 2 types of okra. I grew melons all over the place. This Hopi watermelon that you could remove it from the vine and it would keep for 6 months on a shelf. It didn't need rainwater. It was incredible. I grew sorghum, 10 feet tall. I grew red dye amaranth, 11 feet tall. I grew all these vegetables. I had no plan for selling them. Because I was in the middle of what it turns out was an episode, but I didn't know that at the time. I dressed the part, I wore the hat, I wore a cowboy hat, I wore a lot of ill-fitting dungarees and blue and gray checked shirts, and I thought, this is it, I'm gonna be a farmer, everything's gonna be great. And then, that was 2005 when we started that process. I was working as a cabinet maker's apprentice. I thought, this is gonna be great, I'm gonna be one of the people. I'm learning to make cabinets, and I'm growing vegetables, and when people ask me who I am, say, I am a gentleman farmer / cabinet maker, and they will say, that's great, and then they'll shake my hand and be like, ooh, that's rough and impressive. And then the fall of 2007 came, the grasshoppers came. The grasshoppers ate everything. They ate my house, they ate my marriage, they ate my 2001 Chevy Cavalier, they ate all of my vegetables. They ate this false identity that I constructed for myself. They ate everything but my shredder costume, which put me in good stead because when I had to downgrade from a 2001 Chevy Cavalier to a 1989 Dodge Aries apartment, it's the same car driven by Principal Rooney in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, but I slept in it. The only thing that kept me warm after the grasshoppers had devoured my life was this shredder costume, made of wool, by my first wife, and I needed to rebuild. And that was, gosh, that's 12 years ago now. But here we are. The quest continues. Thank you for your time and attention.